Hello everyone and welcome to another Top Tips for Archaeology graduates. Today I'm really pleased to be joined by Chris, who is an experienced field archaeologist with the company Cotswold Archaeology. Welcome Chris, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. Hello to everyone at home and hello to you, Penny.
Thank you very much for joining us. So I wanted to start off this interview, get it kicked off by asking about your job role at the moment. What are some of the things that you do in your day-to-day job?
Well, as part of a field archaeologist, you every day is a school day, really. You're constantly doing different things. So within the commercial aspect, in the commercial sector, we'll be doing things like evaluations, excavations, larger excavations, metal detecting surveys, all kinds of things. And as well as there are other jobs in the office that you can do in downtime. So yeah, you might be doing digging one day and you might be pot washing the next. It really is varied.
So what are some of the things that you enjoy about your job? What are the kind of things that you think are the best moments and the best
well, I'm sure if you speak to any field archaeologist, they'll say that finding things are the best and the most exciting thing you can do. Just that wow moment of the first time you touch something, even if it's a little piece of pottery or if it's a sheep's tooth or a lovely knife, anything you can find, you really get that sort of buzz and that sort of kick out. Apart from
that's the image behind you, isn't it? You showed me earlier. Yeah. That's the knife.
This is a knife I found on an excavation we did with Operation Nightingale, which was part of last series of Digging for Britain. Actually, it was the first episode where we also found a glass bowl on site, and the iron knife that was part of that program is on the wall there very nicely. So there we go.
Can I just quickly ask what period it came from?
It came from a Saxon grave, so just to make that a little bit more exciting, it was attached to someone on the hip, and was quite an exciting find at the time.
Yeah, I definitely, if I was finding a Saxon knife in a grave, it would be thrilling. And so, can I ask the other side of that then? What do you find more challenging about your role?
That's a difficult one. I think we say generally it's coming to terms with different geologies and different sort of digging conditions. The winter we've had with the cold and the snow and the frost and everything has been a little bit more difficult than some, but commercial archaeology works all year round. It's not a limited to a sort of 4 or 5 week thing in the summer when it's nice and bright. So once you get over your first winter, as I'm sure you all know, it very much keeps you going and keeps you in there. Conditions over the last kind of 18 months have been very difficult at times with the flooding the previous year and the snow this year. So for me, they're the most difficult things. Apart from that, just getting your eye in on every site you're at and doing the best you can.
Yeah, it is. The weather, I agree with that, it's very challenging. But it also, winter sunrises, when you're the first person you feel like to see a winter sunrise, it is also kind of a special experience.
Some of those are particularly pleasant, especially when you get the really sort of low-lying mist from the frost as well. You get some really atmospheric digging conditions, particularly when you're there at sort of 7:30 in the morning. It does sort of opens your eyes a little bit to how pretty Oxfordshire could be.
Yeah, that's great. So can I ask, how did you get into this role? How did you get your position?
I got through into commercial through sort of personal acquaintances and personal development plans and generally knowing people in the business. A lot of them were personal friends from previous years, worked for a lot of other companies, and my wife at the time was working at the same company in a finds position. So when we were desperate for staff and the opportunity arose, I took the opportunity with both hands and haven't looked back, really.
So you did another role before that. Could you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I spent the first sort of 7 years after graduating in retail, really. After we graduated in 2009, it was very difficult with the recession going on. So the job centre made me apply for a job in retail through bike shops, and I was there, for 7 years, and I managed shops all different up and down the country, Bristol, Colchester, and a couple of the small little branches in York. I was there for a quite long time as well. So it was a different road to some, but I'm glad that gave me some opportunities and experience to talk with members of the public about lots of things. So I quite enjoy the outreach side of that because I'm used to having those conversations. But also it means you've got a little bit more world experience really as well.
Yeah, and I imagine some commercial experience as well in terms of working in a business and the kind of professional environment that comes with that. And really interesting that you talk about public outreach and about how it benefited with that. I think a lot of us, I've done retail positions in the past, really call on some of those skill sets when they do it. But you were able to pursue your dream in the end, and I think make that transition even after doing another job. And I think it's really wonderful to hear, and I'm really pleased. So can we talk a little bit about your time in York then, and your degree? What kind of things did you take away from your degree, both in terms of the subject itself, but also kind of the transferable skills?
Of course, transferable skills is a massive one within field archaeology. You've got to be able to look at things in the ground. You've got to look at the geology and work out paperwork and use the IT systems and all those kind of things. So there's a lot of a background that you need to know on the technical aspect as well. But most importantly, it gives you the ability to be able to really disseminate writing reports, learning what you can in DBAs, things like that, which you might not necessarily think much about. But if you're given a working scheme of investigation for a site and you need to read through it, you've got to pick up those important parts. And more importantly, you've got to then translate those into what your research aims and objectives are for that particular site. So that's always a big part of it. On terms of the fieldwork side of things, the field term in first year has been excellent for me, having had that in my degree and then had such a long period of time out of it. You do get a good snapshot at everything as part of that process. So you do learn quite a bit about how you would do things, the way that you can maximize your sort of time on site, but more importantly, learn what muscles will ache at the end of the day and how you can sort of counteract them. 6 weeks in the field in Burdale for me was the most field work I'd done for nearly 10 years. So when I landed on my first archaeological site as a commercial archaeologist, it really sort of paid in that, yeah, I remember how to get rid of that ache and pain. And it's always worth sort of bearing those memories in mind. You never know when they come back to help you.
Yeah. Oh, it's fantastic to hear that the first year excavation you felt really stood you in good stead for walking onto a commercial site and getting started. Whether that was just knowing how to crouch so you don't get a painful back, or whether it's some of the paperwork and some of the other side of doing things. Thank you. So what advice would you give to graduates who wanted to follow in your footsteps?
First of all, I'd say really don't get disheartened when you apply for jobs and they aren't there. I was trying for a long time while I was in a different career path in retail, and it just wasn't happening. However, when you get that opportunity and you get that foot in your door, just grasp it. Really do what you can to sort of rise up the ladder and really be part of a team. It will be a completely alien experience for some, being, you might not meet people before, but all of a sudden you'll be living with them and spending all of your time with them for sort of 3 months, and you really have to open your eyes a little bit and really sort of enjoy the time that you can. Another thing as well is don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. If there's a mucky job on site that needs to get done and it's really important, then don't shy away from it. Really use the opportunity to learn as much as you can. Take the opportunities to learn. Every day is a school day in commercial archaeology, and you'll only learn by doing it.
I think there's some really great advice there. One of the things that I'm interested to ask you about, I guess, is working away. We've had some student questions about what that is like and how much you do sort of work away. I know from my own experience as a field archaeologist that it was one of the bits that I really loved was the team atmosphere and how much fun you had. But maybe you could talk a little bit about kind of that I guess there's both positives and negatives.
Yeah, there's always positives and negatives with things like that. I think, as you say, the camaraderie that you get with those people is a big thing. If you're having a great time, you're having a great time with people who become friends. If you're having a rubbish time, you're all having a rubbish time together, and that really brings everyone together. And it can be that little bit more of a good experience, even if it was a rubbish site or the weather was awful. You'll always look back on it and go, oh well, we had a good laugh, at that sort of time. I would probably say that I probably spend about 3 to 4 months away a year. That can be in large blocks. Largest I've done in 1 year was sort of 4 months on the bounce. And to be honest, to go a little bit stir crazy at that sort of time, you do need a little bit of a break after it. But every now and again, 2 or 3 weeks away here or another week away there is really actually quite beneficial. You do open your eyes to different geologies and different ways of thinking. particularly different county archaeologists wanting different kind of pieces of work done, or using cameras in a different way, or things like that, can really, really be beneficial if you learn for next time and get that a little bit more experience. Apart from that, you always get a little bit extra money on away work as well, so that can be a bit more beneficial.
Yeah, you get your dinner paid, don't you? You get some cash to cover dinner and things like that.
Yeah, with our company, we get a subsistence allowance, which is £18 per night. It's not as big as some companies out there, but it is bigger than others. And with that, usually you can do quite well if you shop very cleverly. If not, if you all group in and cook meals as a team, which can really build that sort of camaraderie, then you can often make a little bit more money off the end of it as well.
Thank you so much for that advice and talking about your experiences in field archaeology. You're making me miss it terribly, having had a chat with you about it. And I think you gave some really good advice there about sort of pursuing the things that you're interested in. And it's so lovely to hear that though you went into one area, probably mostly, I guess, due to the recession in 2008, 2009, that didn't mean that you were just there for the rest of your life and now you're really doing a job that you love. So thank you so much to Chris, and thank you to everyone else for watching, and join us next time for Top Tips for Archaeology Graduates.